So, what's happened to Arsenal this season? Since it's the international break and I have nothing better to do, I'm sat here trying to find something to help with my copium. I decided to look into reasons why I believe Arsenal did not win the league this season, or reasons why I believe Arsenal's feeble title challenge came to an end prematurely. So let's dive in. Let's face it, Liverpool are bound to win the Premier League at the end of the season, barring a miracle. Miracles do happen, but come on. I don't think the football gods are literally looking down on Arsenal right now. So I do have a few sort of reasons as to why I believe Arsenal did not win the league this season. Let's dive in. As it stands, Opta predicts Arsenal will finish the Premier League season with 76 points. Last season, they finished with 83 points. That is 7 points more than this year's projection. The question every Arsenal fan asks themselves is, where did it all go wrong? Well, welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, we'll be diving deep into Arsenal 2024-2025 Premier League campaign so far. We will be going through 3 key factors I believe contributed to Arsenal's lackluster Premier League challenge this season. You ask what are the 3 key factors I'm talking about? These are based on my opinions anyway. Injuries, discipline, and tactical stagnation. Yes, tactical stagnation. We'll be going through tactical analysis showing similar approaches deployed by teams to nullify Arsenal's attacks. Earlier on, I did mention injuries as being one of the key factors. Yes, injuries. Every team has injuries, but there should be a contingency plan in place to help with squad depth. But not every team has 150 mil to spend in a January transfer. So let's have a look at Arsenal's injury list so far this season. Looking at the first name on the list, with Tomiyasu, missed 28 games in the Premier League so far this season. Ben White, 15 games. Bukayo Saka, 13 games. Gabriel Jesus, 12 games. Martin Odegaard, 8 games. Kai Havertz, who is out for the rest of the season, 8 games also. And Gabriel Martinelli, 3 games. I failed to mention Gabriel Jesus is also out for the season. At the time of recording, Bukayo Saka is back in training, but he has so far missed 13 Premier League games this season. And you may ask, how does that impact Arsenal's ability to win matches? That's a great question. And to answer that question, I'll let Jarvis run some sort of analysis in the background for me. Jarvis, cue the analysis. I'm just kidding. So I did some analysis using a sample size from 2023-2024 season. That's when Kai Havertz joined Arsenal, to look at the output of these players that are injured. Yes, injuries do count, but we still need to look at the output of the players to determine if injuries are actually a big factor to Arsenal's downfall to the Premier League challenge this season. So let's have a look at the goal and assist Arsenal Premier League since 2023-2024. First on the list, as you can see, Bukayo Saka with 65 goals plus assists. That is a very good contribution the past 2 seasons. Martin Odegaard with 46, Gabriel Martinelli with 39, Kai Havertz with 32, and Gabriel Jesus with 29. I have another key analysis we actually want us to have a look at, which is the big chances created in the Premier League 2023-2024 to present. And that is the table here. Surprise, surprise. Well, I'm not surprised anyway, with to see Martin Odegaard. Big chunk of chances created from him. With 47 chances, Bukayo Saka with 42, Gabriel Martinelli with 21, Gabriel Jesus with 13, and Kai Havertz with 11. So I also did some sort of analysis to look at the percentage of these sort of key contributions for Arsenal. Looking at this table here is giving a percentage of goals contribution throughout the Arsenal team, with a combined 143 goals in total during this period. Other players got 35.5%, Bukayo Saka has a staggering 18.1%, Martin Odegaard with 12.5%, Gabriel Martinelli with 10.4%, Gabriel Jesus with 8.8%, Kai Havertz with 8.5%, and Leandro Trossard with 6.2%. Yes, looking at his output, the injuries that has happened to Arsenal's key players like Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Jesus, who is out for the rest of the season, Kai Havertz, yes, out for the rest of the season, has had an impact, a negative impact, in fact. One key point I wanted to point out is Odegaard with 12.5% of Arsenal's overall goal contributions across 2 seasons. His absence for 2 months was certainly felt, but I think he has not been the same player since his ankle injury. Jesus and Havertz have a combined 17.3% goal involvement. That's a lot of output to lose mid-season. Yes, you might argue that some teams, Man City, have been able to miss players throughout the whole season and been able to go ahead and win the Premier League. Yes, De Bruyne was actually injured for a big chunk of the Premier League season last year. But at the same time, City had depth, which Arsenal do not have this season. Moving on to the next point, discipline. You can't say Arsenal have been unlucky with some of the red cards received this season. But Arsenal lead the league in red cards shown since Arteta became manager, with a staggering 20 red cards. This season alone, Premier League 2024-2025, Arsenal lead the league with 4 red cards. Yes, there were some questionable red cards, but I believe those were also self-inflicted. Key examples, Declan Rice versus Brighton. He may or may not have kicked the ball away, and he got kicked too. Trossard versus Man City, which I believe was the most absurd situation for Trossard to be sent off for a second yellow card. If you have a look at the footage, the foul initially was on Bernardo Silva, who was on the floor at the time the ball was kicked by Trossard. The ref blew the whistle 0.1 second after the foul. So there's no way that foul would have been taken whilst Bernardo Silva was still on the floor. So, yes, questionable, but at the same time, by the letter of the law, it was right. There is no argument against William Saliba's sent-off against Bournemouth. That was a straight red card. Good job done by the referee. Marcel Lewis Kelly's red card against West Ham, there's no question, there's no doubt, that was also a red card. Arsenal dropped 7 points in games where red cards played a role. Quick maths, 12 points, which is currently the lead on Arsenal by Liverpool, minus the 7 hypothetical points Arsenal could have incurred, is equal to 5. So Arsenal could literally just be 5 points behind Liverpool with a bit more luck. Football gods have forsaken us. That's just to feed my copium. Next point, which I believe is the most important key factor, the predictable nature of Arsenal's build-up play throughout the whole season. Let's face it, Arsenal have not been good this season. They've not been the same Arsenal of last season. But then again, Mikel Arteta has deployed a more of a defensive or more structured approach. This has been very evident in games whereby teams deployed a low block approach. Sitting in low blocks, offering little to no attacks, offering little to no space between the lines. Arsenal rarely make penetrative passes through the middle in the final third. I have a metric here from OptaStats showing Arsenal's zone of control. Basically, where on a pitch, teams are touching the ball more than the opponents in open play. Zones labelled purple, which is Arsenal, gain more than 55% of total touches. Zones labelled red show where the opposing team gain more than 55% of total touches, while the others are considered contested, which is shown in grey. So, as you can see, the graph shows the most offensive actions came through the flanks for Arsenal with almost nothing penetrating centrally. The opponents deserve credit too. They adapted to Arsenal's play. So, like I mentioned earlier on, there will be 4 key games whereby I'll be going through some sort of tactical analysis in game, which were deployed by Arsenal's opponent, and also approaches whereby Arsenal were taking trying to break down teams. But before that, there are 4 key games I believe cost Arsenal, and I have tactical analysis to back that up. But before that, there is an alarming metric I would love to show you guys. This graphic shows Arsenal's 2024-2025 Premier League build-up metrics. Additionally, it shows Arsenal's tendencies when it comes to their build-up play. So looking at Arsenal's 2024-2025 Premier League build-up metrics, Arsenal rank 8th in line-breaking passes, 6th in line-breaking passes around in build-up. This is one key factor that I will actually zoom in on in the analysis. Another key factor that I will actually be looking at in the analysis also is line-breaking passes over in build-up play. Alarmingly, Arsenal rank 19th. That means Arsenal barely play balls over the top for any sort of striker to actually chase. But then again, that might be because they do come up against low blocks often. Arsenal rank 13th in line-breaking passes through in build-up play. Keep all of this in mind as I will be referring back during the tactical analysis. Game 1 of the tactical analysis. This game was at the Emirates. Arsenal came unbeaten in 15 matches, but the injury crisis hit hard. No Martinelli, no Kai Havertz, no Saka. Arteta had to deploy Mikel Merino as the striker. Tactically, Arsenal stuck to their 4-3-3 formation. Possession was dominated by Arsenal having a staggering 65% and 15 shots at goal, but only 3 on target. West Ham sat deep, hit on the break, with their goal coming from Jared Bowen, scored just before the halftime. With the tactical analysis against West Ham, we'll be looking at 3 key factors: line-breaking passes, lack of presence in the box, and West Ham's shape. One negative dent on Arsenal build-up play did so far this season has been their lack of line-breaking passes on transition. That is where Arsenal are able to recover the ball back anywhere on the field and being able to hit teams on counter-attacks. Think about the last time Arsenal scored a goal on a counter-attack. In this action here, Arsenal have won the ball back, but failed to capitalize with an incisive line-breaking pass on transition. Next still picture here is showing how visibly Mikel Merino is upset that the ball could not go through, or Partey couldn't see the pass through to Martin Odegaard here. With Odegaard in the half space, and if Partey was to see that pass through, that would have been an easy transition right there for Arsenal to actually attack West Ham. But with the way Arsenal are actually structured to actually attack teams, which is mainly through sideways or around teams, like I mentioned in the metrics before, Partey didn't look to pass the ball through and the ball went sideways. As you can see here, the ball went back to Timber. The ball went sideways to Timber, with Mikel Merino highlighted here, occupying the 2 centre-backs as he should do. The ball later goes back infield and ends up going back sideways. One thing I wanted us to have a look at here, which is a feature in Arsenal build-up play, is Odegaard's position on this right-hand side during Arsenal's build-up play. So in the 18th minute here, this is an example as to why Arsenal are ranked 19th in line-breaking passes over in build-up. As you can see here, as I've already annotated, Timber has time on the ball. Mikel Merino is making a good run in which Timber could have put the ball through either on the floor, which I believe he has the ability to, or over the top into the space. But guess what happens? The ball ends up going backwards. One thing I pointed out earlier on is Arsenal's build-up play. And a very big feature is Martin Odegaard picking up positions here shown on this heat map against West Ham, which is usually between the opposition's midfield, close to his right back and close to his winger. This picture here depicts exactly what was showing on the heat map here. With West Ham's back five and a midfield three and two up top. As you can see on these annotations here, West Ham barely has any spaces for Arsenal to play through. And as a result, Arsenal will always have to come back to their build-up play of playing around the opponent. In this action here, Arsenal not being able to break down West Ham on this hand side. On his right-hand side, the ball gets recycled to the left-hand side. With everyone working in tandem for West Ham, as you can see here in this action here, when the ball gets recycled to the other side for Arsenal, before the ball even gets to Trossard, Wan-Bissaka is already putting the pressure on, with Souček already filling in the gap. With Arsenal having no joy down the other side, the ball then gets recycled to this side again. As you can see here, West Ham has deployed a back five again, and three in the midfield to stifle Arsenal's attack. In the 19th minute, one thing I believe Arsenal did well, that could have probably resulted in a good chance to score a goal. Looking at this action here, Arsenal were able to work the ball down the West Ham defence, down the side of West Ham defence during build-up. Martin Odegaard spots the space in behind this defender here, whilst the midfielder is trying to track him. Martin points to Yuri Timber where he wants the ball. Let's have a look at the next action. Timber is able to find Martin Odegaard here. Now, one thing we need to keep an eye on is the space in here. As you can see, Arsenal have loaded the box with Rice, Moreno, Trossard, with Calafiori sitting right at the edge. One good thing that Rice has been able to do this season, or one good thing Mikel Arteta has been able to do with Rice this season, is making sure he's breaking his neck into the box. As you can see, there's space here for the ball to go into. Odegaard has time and space on his right foot to put the ball into the box. But guess what happened next? Odegaard decided not to cross the ball with his right foot. Probably because he wasn't confident enough. But a player of his ability should be able to put the ball into that space on his right foot. Bearing in mind the runs that were being made by Declan Rice near post, Mikel Merino back post, with Trossard just hanging right here, and Calafiori right on the edge. But since he wasn't confident enough to put the ball into the box with his right foot, he decided to cut back in, losing the ball, and leading to a visibly frustrated Arsenal players in the box. Rice being one, Mikel Merino and Trossard and Calafiori on the edge of the box. That was a good chance to put the ball into the box right there. Let's move on to the next sequence. At this phase of play, as you can see, Odegaard has managed to find space here in the half space, on the half 10, to be able to actually drive into the box or even find the ball out wide. One key thing I'd like you guys to actually keep an eye on is this space here. As you can see, Arsenal are loading up the back post for a cross. Moving to the next picture. Odegaard then turns in the half space, looking into this space with no one occupying that space. Even if we had a striker, any good quality striker would know or would be making a run on the blind side of the defender through this way, making sure that the defender does not know where they are. And the ball could have literally just been slid through for an attacking or for a chance to actually score. But since we decided to load the back post, guess what? The ball goes. In the next sequence, that's going to show you here, backwards. And then Arsenal ends up losing the ball and then not creating a chance right here because everyone decided to load the box. Moving on to the 43rd minute, as you can see here, West Ham now have been penned back into the box, trying to get out, and with Odegaard now on the ball, but still have the structure in place. Even though Souček has dropped into the box because of the presence of Declan Rice, there's still a midfield three here, which made it difficult for Arsenal to break down. Because of this good structure, Odegaard had to then force a pass into Yuri Timber here, which will be shown in the next picture here. But then Yuri Timber loses the ball, which then leads to a West Ham counter-attack. And guess what happened next? West Ham goes on a counter-attack from a ball out to Wan-Bissaka here by Bowen, leading to a goal at the stroke of halftime. There's something I actually wanted to show you guys. which basically depicts how the game went against West Ham. As you can see here on the heat map here, Arsenal's attack, majority of Arsenal's attack were down the right-hand side trying to get out West Ham defence. And I believe that is where Martin Odegaard was trying to operate, with Arsenal trying to create a chance to actually score in that game. With Arsenal's lack of ability to be able to break down teams, the game ended 1-0 to West Ham. But one key contributor to Arsenal's downfall, I believe, was when Miles Lewis-Kelly was sent off in the 73rd minute for a last-man challenge. Arsenal's comeback chances vanished. You might say Arsenal should be able to break down low blocks, and I will agree with that. In my opinion, regardless of whatever approach a team takes, in this case, West Ham's approach with a back five, 3 in the midfield and 2 up top, Arsenal should be able to break down teams. No excuses, and with those players on the field, this should have been a game that Arsenal should have taken 3 points, but they ended up taking nothing. Psychologically, a massive blow. The unbeaten run ended. Arsenal left the pitch 8 points behind Liverpool after that game. Game 2 of my analysis. The second game that I would like us to analyze is Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal, which happened on the 26th of February, 2025. This was basically 4 days later, which Arsenal missed another opportunity to actually close the gap to Liverpool. Mikel Merino again started up top. Arsenal controlled 60% of possession, but only registered 1 shot on target late in the second half. Again, no cutting edge and little threat posed by Arsenal during that game. This heat map shows the average position of each player from both sides of the team. And as you can see, Arsenal again were trying to develop most of the attack down Odegaard's side with 681 touches of the ball compared to 440 touches of the ball from Nottingham Forest. Let's have a look at the only chance or only shot a goal Arsenal had during that game. It came from a corner, a good take by Declan Rice, and I believe Merino should be scoring this chance here. With a great stop coming from Nottingham Forest keeper Matt Sells, I still believe Mikel Merino should have actually given Arsenal the lead here. With Arsenal not being able to have any sort of cutting edge and little threat, the gap to Liverpool was now 13 points. The title race wasn't over, but the momentum was gone after that game. The third game I'd like us to focus on is Manchester United versus Arsenal, which ended 1-1. In this match, Ruben Amorim deployed his usual tactics of 5 at the back, with 3 in the midfield and 2 attacking players, or sometimes he plays the 2 10s. And in that game, they had a similar shape to West Ham in the previous match that I basically analysed. And I believe Arsenal could have capitalised and actually gained something by creating a chance or scoring a goal from this action here before the 10th minute of that game. So, Raya has the ball here. And as you can see, we have Mikel Merino at this point here. Raya was able to find Merino in this space because Manchester United decided to go press man-to-man up high, leaving a spare man in Raya. And Merino was playing up top during that game, but he found some space here. Very good movement from Merino. Raya was able to find him. Moving on to the next action. As you can see, Merino had bags of space due to the press of Manchester United. So, Arsenal in transition. One thing we're going to have to bear in mind is that Arsenal this season have not been good during transition. I do not for the life of me remember the last time Arsenal scored a goal on a counter-attack in transition. And this, I believe, shows a good example as to why we do not score a lot of goals in transition. So ideally, looking at this action here, Merino is doing the right thing by driving into the space. I would have liked Ethan to make a run here to occupy Euro. And even if he made a good run in here, Moreno, I believe, is good enough to get the ball through there. That would have been a chance and goal. Even if that ball was not going there, that would have left Timber and Dalot one-on-one to still carry on with the counter-attack. But guess what happens? Because no incisive run is made, Man U or Man United are back into their shape of the back five, with the midfield two now arriving, and then the ball ends up going back sideways. Right, next action here. Arsenal are able to pin United in their box, in the attacking third of their half, anyway, I should say. Ball makes its way sideways to Yuri Timber here. Timber is now 1-on-1 with Dalot, with Martin Odegaard in space looking for the ball. Odegaard is calling for the ball, but then Timber decides to take on the wing by Dalot, which makes sense to me, to try and create opportunity to actually put the ball into the box. But since United are back in a good shape, they're able to stop the attacking threat down this side here, with Dalot stopping Timber and the ball being cleared. There's a few additional things I wanted to point out during this Manchester United game. This next action here literally exemplifies why Arsenal struggle to break down teams that are sitting at the edge of their box. Timber gets the ball in this attacking sequence here. I've highlighted Moreno making a good run into the space in between the centre-back and the wing-back. I don't understand why the ball or Timber couldn't play the ball through here. Has he been instructed to just keep the ball short and never to force ball through? Or is it just lack of confidence? I believe is the latter. Because a simple pass through here could have given Moreno a chance to have a shot and goal. Even if we don't score, it's still a shot and goal. But we always want to build up playing around teams instead of through teams. Again, as you can see, same shape, same story. United used a structure like Fulham and West Ham. Arsenal struggled with central penetration. The transitions killed them. Now, for the last game that I wanted us to analyze was against Fulham away, which ended 1-1. In this game against Fulham, I believe Arsenal lacked incisiveness and imagination to be able to break down Fulham. Let's have a look at the system that was deployed by Fulham. Fulham opted to go with a back four, but with Iwobi highlighted here, dropping in as a 5. And a midfield 3 and 2 up top. But in this action here, attacking action or attacking phase from Arsenal, as you can see here, we got a back 5 and a midfield 4 and 1 up top. This stifled Arsenal any sort of opportunity to try and create chances through the middle of the park. Any ball through here and Arsenal would have been straight at the back 5 and in on goal. One thing I want us to keep an eye on is Declan Rice here. I believe instead of Jorginho trying to force the ball through or trying to look for an opportunity to put the ball through, should have in fact recycled the ball down this lane, whereby we could have gone at Iwobi to try and see what we could have created from that. Let's still keep an eye on Declan Rice. And as you can see, since the midfield is blocked, the only pass that Jorginho could have probably played was over the top to Saka, making a good run in behind, which is a good idea. But the ball ended up going short and sideways. Arsenal are able to work the ball to Partey here in this sequence. As you can see here, Rice is visibly pointing to the space here, where if the ball was able to get to him, they could have attacked. But guess what? Ball going back sideways, which ends up going to Bukayo Saka. A little pass here from Martin Odegaard to Saka here. And the ball ends up going into the box. But one thing I actually want us to keep an eye on here is Alex Iwobi here and his defensive responsibility in that game. I will be smell the danger, looking at Trossard making a run into the box here. And followed in. In this action here, you can see Saka standing up Robinson, looking to get the ball into the box. Iwobi sees Rice coming into the box and passes on Trossard to, Tete. And because Iwobi was able to pass Trossard to Tete, he was then able to track the ball when he came into the box and followed Rice in and cleared the ball. The pattern of the game was set at the early stages of the game. One thing we need to keep an eye on is also the back five of Fulham, the midfield three, and the two up top. Again, a similar approach, which was taken by both West Ham and Manchester United. I've highlighted Rice here because he's visibly upset. Why? Because Jorginho had opportunity to pass the ball into Rice in this space here, which I believe Arsenal could have hurt Fulham in this game if they decided to target this area. But if Bukayo Saka is playing, most of the time Arsenal will look to attack down that right-hand side. Next sequence, as you can see, Rice is still visibly upset. Let's keep an eye out on Alex here. Before the ball went to Saliba, he had already had a look at where Trossard was. As you can see, William Saliba tries a long pass to Trossard, but Alex Iwobi is alert to that pass due to the shape and instruction that was given to him by his manager. And as a result, he was able to cut out that pass and ended up passing the ball straight back to his goalkeeper, Leno. As mentioned before, I believe Arsenal lacked the incisiveness, imagination, which led to lack of creativity. And Arsenal were very passive in terms of their build-up play in that game. With all the analysis done, as you can see, Arsenal's lack of ability to challenge for their title was not just down to these games that I've analysed. There were a few bad games in between as well. Additionally, with lack of squad depth, key injuries to key players, Arsenal lacked the replacement. Having to play Mikel Merino as your main striker, as when the title challenge was surging, says it all. Arteta had few options and gambles like that can define the season. And what about the mental side? With a few poor results, I believe Arsenal lost the momentum, motivation, which then leads me to think there's lack of killer instincts within the camp. This is what separates the champions from the challengers. And to wrap up, mathematically speaking, Arsenal's title challenge isn't over yet, but it's clinging on again. Yet another copium. The games we covered in this analysis, West Ham, Fulham, Manchester United, and Forest, these are games I believe Arsenal's title challenge slipped. Fine margins, but they matter. Next season, I would like Arsenal to take on board these key lessons. Quite depth, making sure that there are cover for every sole position on the bench. Good quality cover. Go out, buy an extra attacking player, two in fact, a striker and a winger. I believe Arsenal should actually sign. Next point, resilience. And the last point, which then leads on to decision-making under pressure. So, was this the year Arsenal lost the title challenge? Or is this another chapter in their rise? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Take the yards!